Let's look at the big stories making the headlines this morning. To help us with that, we've got Andrew Castle. Morning, Andrew.
Very good morning to you. How are you, Eamonn? Happy anniversary. 10 years, Ruth. You've given him 10 years of your life.
I need a halo. I need a halo.
Never a crossword, my friend. And beside Andrew, we've got Nicola Thorp there. Good morning, Nicola.
Morning, Nicola.
Morning, guys. Happy anniversary.
Thank you, Nicola.
Thank you very much.
We're going to start by taking a look at the pictures in the beach in Bournemouth yesterday, and just want to get opinions from you two before we go and speak to Bournemouth's Mayor. Nicola, what's your initial impression of what you're seeing here?
Look, if the beaches are open, then people are going to go and visit, aren't they? I totally understand that people have been locked up for 3 months. So if the government says, you know, lockdown is lifting, the first thing people are going to want to do when the sun is out is go and visit the beach. So I really do think now it's on the council and the government to take that option away from people, because obviously if the temptation's there, people are going to do it. And it's impossible to social distance, really, on a packed beach. And I can't imagine many people sunbathing in masks.
So, nice idea, but take it away, you say?
I think so, maybe for now, because I'd hate to take people's liberties away from them, of course. But if the beaches are open, that is just what is going to happen, unfortunately. We should be going to the beaches and supporting local economy, but not in this way and not causing this kind of chaos. Do it later in the year when, you know, when things are a little quieter, I think.
It is human nature, Andrew, isn't it? It was the hottest day of the year. People have been at home, cooped up at home. They wanted to get out. I think people go with good intention and they think, that's fine, we can sit on the beach, we can socially distance. Should it have been up to local authorities, councils, police to maybe have shut the roads and say, well, you can't come in?
You could look at all the illegal raves that are taking place, both in Manchester and Brixton the other day. We all saw those scenes. You see Black Lives Matter, you see the Colston statue coming down, you see Liverpool winning the championship, and everybody thinks that they have a worthy reason. And of course, they have worthy reasons and great causes to follow. But where is our sense of sort of civic responsibility and a duty to our neighbours? I mean, I'm loath to do what Nicola says and close beaches down, but if that's what it has to come down to, then fine.
It would help. It's a civic duty to support the Black Lives Matter protest, not a civic duty to go and party on a beach. Like, I know what you're saying, but you can't compare the Black Lives Matter cause with having a day out at the beach. Sorry, you just can't compare those two.
Let's go to Susan.
I just did, but you know, you can certainly compare it, because coronavirus doesn't see colour, shape, size, inequality in other ways. All it sees is a body to go into, and it destroys people's lives.
But if you look at the data, people from the BAME community are far more likely to contract and die from the virus because of systemic racism. So that's what people are protesting against.
Let's go to the Mayor of Bournemouth now. This is Susan Phillips. Susan, another sunny day today, more of the same, what you saw yesterday, and what do you like the morning after the night before?
Firstly, can I wish both of you, Eamonn and Ruth, happy anniversary. Can I also wish happy birthdays to the various people, including Jeff, the cameraman, today. Oh. So, coming back to the question, welcome to sunny Bournemouth. My role as Mayor is a non-political role, and I absolutely adore having given time in the last 10 months during coronavirus of working remotely, Zooming, Skypes, everything being put in its place for safety. Yesterday was chaotic. It put a lot of pressure, unfortunately, on all of the agencies that do work together, can work together, including our hospitals, because both, I understand there was an absolute chaotic problem in both Bournemouth and Paul yesterday.
And we did see...
I know how lovely it is.
Sorry, Susan, we did see footage of an ambulance trying to get through at some point. You know, there were thousands of people there. We said earlier, you know, I expect most people set out with good intention, that they think we'll have a day at the beach, we'll socially distance, it'll be fine. At some point, should local council services, the police, have stopped people coming in? Should the roads have been closed, do you think?
Ruth, can I just say that I would say the majority of people who headed for the beach were from out of town, because I know that our residents generally understand what is going on this pandemic. We have the elderly locking themselves and keeping themselves shielded. We have vulnerable children also shielding. We've been supporting the National Health through this problem, and really I think it was very very bad for people to take this risk. There is being threatened a second pandemic. And if we only look at Wales, if we think about China, if we think about Germany, they already are seeing this. So it's not in our gift as the council to actually carry out any of the suggestions you've made. But obviously, I will be working.
Is that something you
would share that?
Is that something you would hope then the government would step in if you don't have the power to do that? To say we can't allow all these people in. It's not safe. It's stretching the emergency services in your local area. Is it something that you think the government then should be responsible for? Thanks, Ruth. I'm always lobbying our MPs. Tobias has been on. He's given his opinion, and also Conor Burns, MP Conor Burns, and I shall be lobbying them after this recording today, particularly on the agenda of what took place yesterday. And if we just look out to the bay, we've got cruise ships that are anchored that have been for quite a while now. We've had 3. And when we think that they're being anchored without partying and travelling abroad, really there's a message that speaks out loud and clear.
I tell you, here's a message.
I am saying, please, stay away from Bournemouth. Stay away from Bournemouth, please.
OK, well, we'll see what happens today, Mayor. But you talk about a message speaking. I'm going to show you some pictures now. And, you know, coronavirus aside, social distancing aside, what sort of pigs do this, leave this debris behind? They brought this litter with them, they leave it there, and you go into detail. Goodness knows what we're like as regards toiletry facilities, because there are a few options for them. I mean, I couldn't imagine going to the beach thinking I'd nowhere to go to the loo
for a whole day.
All day, for a whole day. But look at the mess they have created there and placed on your local services as a result. I mean, that's just a pigsty.
Can I say that we are reputed for having very good recycling things in place and household rubbish, and we do rate very high on the listing of being very efficient.
I mean, the message is people who bring that along, Susan. I mean, it's not for you to then go and clear up their mess. Where's the social responsibility?
Indeed. Take it home. Yes, please. Please take your rubbish home. But in the first instance, please don't visit Bournemouth until this pandemic and this epidemic and our ratings are improving, because we are heading, if we carry on like that, for a second pandemic.
Madam Mayor, thank you very much indeed. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your message. Really appreciate it. Susan Phillips
for having me.
Not at all. Susan Phillips is the Mayor of Bournemouth. She thanks us for having her, but she doesn't want you. Stay out of Bournemouth is her message, Andrew and Nicola. What do you say to that?
Nicola?
Oh, OK, thank you. Yeah, I agree with her. If these services are being overrun, look at the state of the beaches. I know it's not necessarily on Bournemouth Council to provide bins for 500,000 people, but there has to be a collective social responsibility to kind of not trash our oceans, for goodness sake. Like, I'm from Blackpool. I can see the effects that not having visitors has on a town and a community, but I can also see what the effects of having kind of irresponsible visitors has. And yeah, I just think the government probably need to step in and help the council on this one.
Andrew, do you agree?
I mean, this is a look to the future, isn't it? Because people are taking the law into their own hands because they are either slightly confused by the messaging, or they're voting with their feet, as we see them going to the beach and elsewhere in whatever protest. And we've just been talking about that. People are making their own decisions at the moment. And I'm sure the behavioural psychologists that feed into SAGE, and then the government, who then act on that advice which they've been given and make their own decisions, they must have taken all this into account. If it's a long, hot summer, it's going to be a long, difficult summer for a lot of local authorities, and also for the police, who deserve nothing but respect for dealing with all this. We always rely on them. We should remember what they go through too. Well,
they're not getting respect in certain areas like Brixton last night. We're relying on people being sensible, but Nicola, they're not being sensible. Does this need more direction from the top?
Yeah, I think so. I think once once it was announced kind of 3 weeks in advance that the pubs were going to be open, in people's minds, they just think, well, lockdown's over. We look at what happened with Dominic Cummings. He didn't receive any kind of punishment except from criticism from the public. And I think this, the general sense right now is that it's kind of done, and people are feeling frustrated. People are going to be taking out sort of 3 months of isolation and frustration out in these big events and in these ways. I just think, yeah, what happened in Brixton last night is so unfortunate, and people, I think the government do need to do more, really, in supporting police in kind of breaking down these parties in a peaceful manner.
OK, Nicola Thorp, Andrew Castle, thank you both very, very much indeed. And, I agree with Nicola. It just needs more direction from the top. It's just like just letting the genie out of the bottle and no one's sort of saying what direction it can go in. I
was saying this morning, you track it back. Obviously, the Bournemouth, Christchurch, Poole, they're all trying to deal with it because it's happened. But if you track it back, who's letting that many people get on trains and go to Bournemouth? You saw those scenes of absolutely packed trains. Admittedly, most people wearing masks, but they must have been crammed into trains. Should they be going further back from the destination and stopping it before it gets too bad?
Yeah. You're on furlough. We're in the middle of a pandemic. I suppose the message is, sit on a park bench, sit in your back garden, but don't be heading to the beach.
A lot of people don't have back gardens, and they're saying...
Ruth, you can make a choice. Would you have gone to Bournemouth Beach yesterday?
I wouldn't.
No, I might have found somewhere on my own or somewhere more, lonely.
I think a lot of people set out with good intention, and then when they get there, they realise it's crammed, but they're there then. So that's why I think it needs to be stopped before they get there.
OK.